What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And we're talking about the UFC event tomorrow. Thiago Santos vs Glover Teixeira. In my opinion, another weak card. There's 5 fights on the main card. We're going to be skipping 2 of them because 2 fights don't really bother me in too much way. So we're gonna get into it. So we're gonna start with actually the first fight on the main card, which is Claudia Gadelha vs Yan Xiaonan. She's another Chinese fighter. They are obviously starting to come out the woodworks a bit, especially with Wei Li. I'm just going to say I am a Claudia Gadelha fan. Her losses are all by decision, so it's not like she's got a week, ever gets knocked out. Yan, however, has won 4 straight in the UFC by decision and hasn't lost since her 3rd professional fight. So she's on a tear. I see. I think it is Yan or Yan. We're going to say Yan for now, or Yan. I think her pressure and pace is going to be too much for Claudia. But I think when it comes to the ground game, I feel like Claudia Gadelha does have the ground advantage there. The Chinese are really making themselves known in the UFC. Obviously, I feel like they always have. We've got some great Korean fighters, some great Chinese fighters. But especially with the, a 12-1 female coming up. I think in the fan of me says Claudia. But the realistic side of me says it could go the other way. So, we're not basing it on records or anything. 18-4 Gadelha to Jan's 12-1. Both good records, both great female fighters. But I'm going to say for this one, Claudia Gadelha loses this one on points. I say Jan by decision. I want to see Gadelha win by submission in the 2nd round, but I don't know. I just feel like this is an important fight, and I feel like Claudia, since her title losses, her total fight loss, I feel like she's just not been great under those big pressure fights. And next up, we're skipping 2 fights in a row. Ian Heinisch against Brendan Allen, and Rayano Barcelius versus Khalid Taha. No reason for me to cover these ones. I know very little about any of these fighters. No fighters that really bother me. I don't think any of them are going to make an impact on any weight classes, whether they be fighting or not. So yeah, we're going to skip those ones. I'm going to jump into the co-main event right away. I think the co-main event and the main event are actually good fights. I would have preferred to see both of these fights on a big card like UFC 255, but be early main event or main event prelims. So we're going to start with 29-19 Andrei Arlovski against Tanner Boser, 9-6 with 1 draw. This is a step up for Tanner in competition. Andrei Arlovski obviously being a former champion. A lot of pressure on Arlovski as well, being his last chance at the title in my opinion. I think if he loses this, he's not going to be able to make another run for it. Andrei's chin is getting weaker. He's had 11 KO losses in 19 total losses. Obviously, it's different when you put him up against people like Rosenstruik and Ngannou. Those guys hit super, super hard. So it'd be unfair of me to say he's got a weak chin. I just think personally his chin is getting weaker as the days go on with his age, and I don't see him being able to hold up to big heavy punches. I think Tanner has got the good power. They've both got great power. They both can go the distance despite being big heavyweights. They've both won on points. They've both lost on points in their careers. I don't think it affects the weight class or the rankings much if either fighter wins. I think it does more for Tanner if he wins than if Andrei Arlovski wins personally. I think if Andrei wins, he'll probably just get probably a rematch against Rosenstruik or Ngannou, and then for Tanner, it'll probably be, probably against someone like Ngannou or Rosenstruik, but it's not a rematch, it's against a good fighter. I feel like Tanner has fought someone at high level and has lost, but regardless, he's on I think a 2 or 3 win streak at the moment. But I'm gonna the 2 are, for my opinion, are Tanner wins this by KO or Andrei Arlovski wins by points. But my final check-in for this decision will be that Tanner wins this one by KO. Probably most likely in the 2nd round. I see him putting on Arlovski. I could see him putting away in the 1st, in all honesty, but I think there's a lot going on for Arlovski. I think he will really cling on to consciousness, and then in the 2nd, I could see Tanner putting him away. I won't be shocked if Andrei wins this one on points. But I don't see Tanner getting KO'd, especially not by Andrei Arlovski. So I'm saying Tanner wins this one by KO in the 2nd round. And then we're going to move on to the main event. In my opinion, a pretty great main event. Something that should have been you know, a co-main event or a good fight in a high up event. This is really big for the light heavyweight division, in my opinion. We've got Thiago Santos 21-7 against Glover Teixeira 31-7. There's a lot that goes into this fight, in my opinion. I feel like Glover's always been underrated. But we'll start with Santos. His last fight was a loss to Jones. But before that, he was on a tear. He had 8 wins in his last 9 before he fought Jones. And then obviously he did lose. And then I think he's been inactive for 520 days. Glover's currently on a 4-win streak against pretty good fighters. He's always been underrated. People always expect him to lose. But I think just because he looks old, he looks like he's just going to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu boring old man wrestler. But he's got great stand-up. He's knocked a lot of people out. It's a super tough fight for both people. For both fighters as well. It's a last run at the title, in my opinion. I don't see them getting another shot unless they lose it in a close fight and then they both get good fights and then, you know, they both can make another run. Both got great stand-up. For me, I think Santos edges the stand-up, and I think Glover has the ground advantage. Not hugely, but I just see like he does have the ground advantage. I think the takedown fear is always going to be there for Santos. He's always going to be worried. My slight edge, the reason I'm going for what my decision is experience and ring rust, if it is technically a thing. Some people say it is, some people say it isn't. Santos hasn't fought for over 500 days. Glover has fought in 2020, he's fought in 2019 and 2018. You know, Santos, I believe, had 1 leg in the Jones fight and obviously lost that one and hasn't fought since. So whether or not he was just too damaged for almost 2 years, or whether or not he was like emotionally damaged from the loss. Obviously, he has experienced loss before, so it's not the first time, so I wouldn't expect it to be that. But I think Glover wins this on points or puts him away late with the ground and pound. I would point as the safe bet, but we're gonna say I think Glover wins this by putting him away late with ground and pound. I think Glover overall is the better rounded martial artist when it comes to stand up and ground. While Santos does have the great kicks and the great stand up and, you know, good ground and good clinch, I just see Teixeira just being the better fighter overall, in my opinion. And I think he puts Santos away late with some ground and pound. I won't be surprised if Santos KOs him or wins on points. This fight could really go either way. Whoever gets a good start wins this fight, in my opinion. If Santos starts out the first round with strong striking, then I think that rattles Glover and Glover gets put away like he did against Alexander Gustafsson and gets knocked out late in the fight. But, you know, if Glover starts off strong, then I could see, you know, him being outpointed and then eventually smothering and putting Santos away with the ground and pound late in the fight. But we're going to say Glover wins this one by ground and pound, or at least TKO or KO late in the fight. Maybe round 4, round 5, but I'm going to say round 4 for this one. It's going to be a great fight to see, actually. I'm really looking forward to the main event of this overall. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Claudia Gadelha does. And hopefully the fan in me is right and she wins. But the realistic side of me says that Jan wins this one. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, guys, I always find it interesting to see what you guys think. Most of you are actually right quite often. I barely know always comes about and gets some good decisions right. So I'd like to see what he has to say. And also what a lot of you guys have to say as well. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.